What?
Doing? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Dean Callan Show. Obviously, I don't know why, but I'm feeling a little bit rusty today. Hopefully, my audio is coming through properly. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. A few, what would you call it? Technical issues. Right at the last minute, which, you know, it feels like the old school. You know, I've gone probably 8 episodes without any serious technical issues, and you know, bringing it back to today. And if you recall, I had a rule: if I had a technical issue back in the day, I would have a can of Guinness to just ease the nerves, right? So today, given that we've had some technical issues, I'm gonna open with a can of Guinness. Well, not a can of Guinness. I take that back. Pint of draft Guinness. Now, obviously, if you've seen the cover photo for today, I've got the legend that is Danny Dyer back on the line. If you recall, Danny Dyer and myself got a bunch of different people on the show doing the Insane in the Grain, just chatting through the strengths of single grain whiskey and trying to get some awareness for it, because people don't really talk about single grain very often. He's back, and we've tried all of these. I don't have the new make anymore because it was too delicious and I consumed it all. And now today I'm going to get to pop this 25-year-old, which I've been looking forward to for about 3 months now. Right, so without making him wait any longer, Danny, how are you, brother?
I'm good. How are you? God, that is one blocky picture. Look at me. I'm coming through as a bunch of pixels at the moment.
Well,
that's partially my fault. The camera that I was using, which was a much better camera, is not playing dice. So that was part of the reason that we're maybe both running a little bit late.
Yeah.
It just wasn't working. So I'm using my laptop's camera, which is just phenomenal, as you can see.
Danny, look, I'm going to level with you. You are a very handsome man, but I think the priority here is the audio, and I can hear you loud and clear.
Well, as long as you can hear me.
Yeah.
But I have this most beautiful Christmas jumper on. You can still make out how ugly it really is. But I thought I'd wear it because we're tasting some special whiskey today. We're tasting this big, crazy 25-year-old. So I thought I'd wear the special Christmas jumper.
Well, I'm really excited by it. I thought it'd be a good idea, right? Because we hadn't got the opportunity to do this in the past. Let me go back to this angle. I thought it'd be a good idea because we didn't really get the opportunity to do it in the past, to play some of the videos you recorded with Brian Kinsman talking about these amazing whiskies, right? So I've only got a couple of them, but what I'm going to do is give people that are watching right now a little bit of a taste of what the videos are like, and then I'll put them all on one upload, if that makes sense. If you're up for that.
Yeah, I must apologise. It was a bit of a lockdown look for me, so
yeah,
it's going to be a bit of a difference from what I look like to these videos, because I remember what I looked like. It was not the best.
Oh yes, sweet heavenly Guinness. Oh, creamy and delicious. I love you so. Look at this. Look, I'm just going to quickly cut to the pint cam. Oh, that's a delicious looking pint right there. Happy days. I've got pint cam now. I'm actually thinking about setting one up just there so I can, like, when I pour my pint. I didn't think I'd be so excited about having draft in the cabin, considering it's like a whole cocktail bar theme. But
yeah, but no one's had draft for how long now? Well, you guys have just opened up again, right? It was Wednesday. Your bars are allowed to take away.
Yeah. The second.
I don't know.
It was
so
yesterday.
Yes, you can go out and drink beer inside, outside, with someone, without someone. I don't know what the rules are now.
Well, after the first lockdown, I was losing my mind because I couldn't get a pint of Guinness. I didn't, you forget, right? You're so like I guess like spoilt with having the American bar at the Savoy to go to, and like I can't afford to get drunk there, but I can afford to have a really nice kind of Manhattan and a nice bespoke cocktail that they make. But actually, when you grind it all back to bare bones, it's that pint of Guinness that I can't recreate that, or at least I couldn't in the first instance. So come second lockdown 2.0, I wanted to make sure that I was covered, and I got myself a tap.
You got it down to the E. I remember learning this from Aaron Walls when we were in New Orleans. He was telling me the first sip should go to the E. I was so confused, and Big Aaron was like, listen, mate, you've got to get that.
I don't know if we can zoom in here.
That is pretty damn close.
I can try. Let me see. Zoom and pan. I'll cut back to my angle. I'll go on to zoom mode. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I think you might have nailed it there.
Bang on, buddy. It is bang on. I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, I've had a bit of practice, man. That first keg lasted like a week and a half. Just myself. Electra had 1 or 2 half pints. She likes a pint of Guinness, but she works all the time, so she doesn't get very many opportunities. And then it was all gone. I was shocked at how fast it had gone.
It doesn't take much, does it? Guinness is very smooth. It's very easy. It's just a danger.
It's so good. Right, so let's have a look at that first video, and then we'll get. Have you got the new make, or should we just skip the new make because I don't have it? Right.
You can skip it if you don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll play one of the videos. We'll start with the 5-year-old. Is that all right?
Cool.
Well, actually, I'll play the video of the new make. I know I'm shuffling things around. I'll play the video of the new make, and then we'll try the 5-year-old, and we'll play the video of the 5-year-old. Yeah.
You do your thing.
I'm just going to quickly go through this. You sent us out 6 samples. Thank you very much for that, by the way. Really interesting mix of samples. So we've got the new make all the way through to 2025. We'll start with the new make. What was it about the new make that you wanted to send us? Is it normally at 42% ABV? And what tasting notes would you get out of it?
Yeah, so the new make, when we get it on a daily basis, is at 94%, and to be honest, you can taste it at 94. I'm sure you've tried it. It's slightly pointless. So it's at 42% to just simply put it in line with everything else and say, well, that's a acceptable drinking strength. That's you can use it as in a base of a cocktail and whatever. But the key thing for the new make is that's what defines Garvin. So every single day we're having to hit that standard and say that's the style we want. In really simple terms, we describe it as sweet. So when we do the sensory panel, the key character we're looking for is sweet. Occasionally, if you were sort of getting into the nuance, you might say, well, it's got a wee bit of fruitiness, it's got a little hint of estery character. But overall, you smell it. It's clearly got more to it than a neutral spirit, but it's not big and bold. It's delicate, light, sweet. And actually, totally. I mean, you could drink it. It's got. If you think of new make malt's quite challenging. New make Garvin is very, very palatable.
So
I'll tell you what.
This
happens to us all the time.
Huh?
It happens to us all the time. I remember when I was down in that cabin.
Yeah,
and
actually,
the sound didn't work for so long, and we've done this through the insane in the grain. There's always something that seems to go wrong, and at the very start you're like, well, I've done about 8 episodes and everything's went swimmingly, and now Danny's back on, everything's screwed again. So I reckon it's probably me. I've got some sort of curse for you.
I'm just looking at these files now. I'm going to try the 5-year-old. Okay, I'm going to try the 5-year-old video. Let's see if it works.
So then we've got the 5-year-old blended grain.
Yeah, so the 5-year-old. The 5-year-old's just like a really classic style that we would use across all our blends. So the oak is, if you think of maturation, and I know I'm teaching you to suck eggs, but you think of maturation where you've got sort of subtractive and additive. Garvin grain needs no subtractive maturation. There's nothing to take out. There's no off notes. There's no There's nothing to overcome. It's not like you're trying to spend the first few years cleaning up the grain or anything. From day one, it goes into a cask and it starts picking up flavour. And on the 5-year-old, you're just starting to see that lovely kind of layering up. The oak's starting to appear. Still quite delicate. The sweetness is there on the new make is absolutely evident. So overall, it's when I picked that up, that reminds me of all the William Grant blends, because that's at the core of all our blends, and then we're adding on different flavours. Obviously for Grant's Triple Wood, there's a lot more complexity goes into it. For some of our other blends, it actually stays relatively simple. So it's like the cornerstone of what we do as a blending business.
You guys got some of the audio, but let's just try the drams and enjoy them, and we can. I will upload if you want me to, Danny. I can upload the entire interview with Brian Kinsman, because actually, just watching you guys interact and listening to him talk about how it is to work in a lab and out in the warehouses and in the tasting rooms and everything like that during COVID is actually really interesting, because you get an insight into the everyday. What's that?
And it's any time you talk to Brian, Brian's incredibly humble, and he's got one of the best and I would say hardest jobs in this industry. To try and recreate this stuff every single time is very difficult. And it's not just this; he works with all sorts of different liquids alongside Kelsey, and it's amazing what they can do. And just listening to the man talk, you always come away with this great little bits and factoids of knowledge that we as ambassadors love to spread. That's kind of the fun of it. So I mean, if it is of interest to anyone, I'm sure it will be to some people watching this. Yeah, just upload it and listen to the man. He's very impressive.
Okay, cool. So I'm on the 5-year-old now. I'm just remembering how it's got that really kind of nice candy floss vanilla note.
This is the one I think I've done cocktails with, which was so fun.
Yep. So good. So my thought process, right? I've got enough of these that I can bottle them up into little small dram bottles, like a little 20 ml, say, dram, like a half a dram, and send them out to a couple of people. So if you're watching and you're based in the UK, and you'd like to try what we've got here, then comment and say, I'm up for it, or I'd like to try them. And then out of the people that do comment, if there's 2 or 3 people, whatever, we'll draw out of the hat as many as we can send. Does that make sense? Because they do taste delicious, and I'd love to share them with people.
It's just the flavours are so obscure. I think, especially with the single malt world, it's very easy to get pulled into it because it's great, right? There's so many different flavours coming through. Our view of blended Scotch might not be the best, but I've absolutely fallen in love with blends, and especially with what we're doing with Triplewood and some other things that are happening in the future. But grains just get such a bad rep, and I have no idea why. And I think for us,
you got to think about how single malts promoted themselves for 20 years. The single malt was being promoted constantly as superior to grain and superior to blends because it's a single malt. And I guess William Grant & Sons weren't, doing it too often, but there were a lot of brands, especially when I was bartending, 20 odd years ago. The reps, the whiskey connoisseurs that came in, that's their attitude. That was what they were driving home. So although it premiumized single malts, it also demonized anything that wasn't, if that makes sense. No, not
definitely. It's a shame though. And you know what? I mean, if it means you can get great grain for a cheaper price, at the end of the day, the person who's going out to buy it wins,
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I quite like the fact that people haven't picked up on things like sherry and Madeira and stuff. That stuff should be really expensive. It's not.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, I've moved on to the 8-year-old already. and you can start to see more of that astringency, more of the wood coming in. But the 8-year-old's got a lot of spice to it as well. Really good. Do you remember the cocktails we made with those?
You know, the cocktail that I remember is I made something blue, and I think I just called it blue. And I was, you know, it was so much fun doing it. I remember making one with like oat milk, and you were like, "What are you doing using oat milk?" And I was like, "Man, it just sort of works."
Yeah.
Because it's the creaminess lends itself to this. But yeah, I remember blue, and I remember some great cocktails from yourself and the guys that you had on as well. But yeah, my memory is just of blue.
Yeah.
Scarred myself.
Well, so I think we're at the 8-year-old now. I'm gonna have one more attempt at this video thing. Now, when I clicked something off towards the end of that last video, did you suddenly get audio?
Yeah, near the end, I got audio. I don't know about your listeners, but I definitely got audio.
All right, let's assume you're in the same position as the listeners, because I can't hear you when I go into video mode, right? So
Right,
if we're getting audio in video mode, right, do this. And if we're not, do this, and I'll take it back out. Yeah.
I'll send some happy pixels your way.
You what?
I'll send some happy pixels. That's a thumbs up.
If we can make out the thumb. All right, let's have a look at. Let's try this 8-year-old.
Next year, you give us a sample of an 8-year-old grain. Is that just a few years older than that previous one? Same maturation and things. Is there a big difference in those flavours coming through with that?
I don't think there's a big difference, but it is the 8-year-olds. It is bigger. It's a wee bit more intense than the 5. There's definitely a tipping point where, you know, the whole kind of 60-40 ratio in terms of oak to spirit. I think at the younger end, it's not quite there. By the time you get into 8, you're definitely starting to see the cask is starting to become the dominant part of the partnership. So I think the vanilla sweetness, the oakiness is now. That's probably what you get first, and then you go, oh, that's like a really nice smelling whiskey. What's behind it? And then that's when you pick up the grain, the lightness, the kind of the core character of Garvin in the background.
All right.
Well, I got audio.
What's that?
I got audio. It worked for me.
I think so. What I did there was I just unmuted my mic because I'm getting audio from it. I'm not seeing any different from what's going out. Well, I can do that each time though, so now I know what to do. So yeah, it's really nice to hear Brian's take on things. I'm actually looking forward to playing his description of the patent still, because that's the last video we've got lined up. I've just tasted that 8-year-old. I'm now on the number 4 apps. I just love the creaminess of this. So you mentioned future plans. What are the future plans? Do you have any top secret stuff you can tell us? Have you got plans for next year already?
Not so much top secret things I can tell you. Like my job has very much changed, right? So, I mean, this is my first time that I've really, since starting with William Grants as a global ambassador, I'm not usually here at this time of year. I'm usually in Africa or somewhere, because the business picks up then at nice hot places. So I've had to kind of deal with winter, and I realised how pathetic I've become again, because every day I get up and I'm like, wow, it's cold and it's dark, you know. So I'm really not used to such quick, short, dark days and being so cold. So I've kind of, if I'm honest, moved into sort of like getting into the brands, as they would say, a little bit more, and I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot over this sort of COVID period time, and I think I've kind of put, hopefully, my Danny stamp on things with the help of the team that we've got as well. So we've got a great team, and they kind of let my weird head let it do its thing. which just shows how great they are and maybe how silly they are at the same time to let me do that.
You know, when you start saying putting my stamp on things, and I've got more into the brand, that's real marketing speak, you know.
It is, yeah.
I think it's a good idea for you to bury yourself into the marketeer side of brand ambassadorship, because to be fair, the brand ambassador's job is part being the rock star and part feeding back to the brand managers, brand directors, and stuff like that, right? So
Yeah,
if you work more with them, I guess you're gonna be better at feedback, and doing your own activations is gonna be way more fun.
that is it in a nutshell, mate. Yeah, I think it's given me a greater respect and understanding for what our brand team does. And I always thought I was a bit too, if I'm honest, stupid for it. I didn't think I'd be able to. I didn't go to university for that. Like, I went to university for acting, for God's sake. I've got a degree in acting. If you ever talk about a useless degree, I've got it.
Look, can I just step in here, right? You went to university and studied acting.
Yes.
You can do any job in the world. Just act like you know what you're doing.
This is why I've got this job. No, because I'm so confident in the other crap that I talk. Everyone believes me. No, it's been really interesting working with the marketing team and working with different agencies and things, because I think it's set me up for hopefully a really strong next year. Yeah. I've got a lot of ideas and plans that I want to do. Obviously, we need to wait until the see where the world is. But I mean, there's a lot of cool things, and not only is it, I used to have cool ideas and then be like, what do I do? Now I have cool ideas and go, I actually know how to begin to make these ideas become real. And it's quite empowering and quite cool, I think. So it's been a really interesting time, and a massive part of that is down to William Grant's and the awesome stuff that they've done for people working with them, and the Grant's global brand team who have been absolutely spot on with me as well. So yeah, I speak a little bit more markety things, and maybe I need to go out and get the Danny lingo back. But it's been really cool. It's been really interesting.
But you need to have a balance to be able to get things executed. Like you said, you know, it's one thing having great ideas, but they're nothing without execution. And if hanging out with the brand team and deep diving into the marketing side and the back of house side of things helps you get those ideas through to execution each time, can't be a bad thing. Now, I am very excited to try the 25-year-old Garvin Patent still. But before I do, in case there is anyone still watching, and I know, Hadrian, mate, we were always going to send you one of each of these. We just thought we'd get the video done today without adding any extra elements and extra kind of, you know, with the lockdown, loads of people in here might actually make it very difficult. But we're definitely sending you some of each of these. And we can go through that tasting together if you like. Right, let me try Garvin Patent still. Brian Kinsman's explanation of the Garvin number 4 apps. It's number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like effectively, for any of the geeks out there, a grain still that is massive and beautiful and very geeky and distills under vacuum, so you get this beautiful fruity floral, not burnt flavor, from my understanding. Right, let's have a go at this.
The Garvin Patent. So I think on this one, you could maybe, if you don't mind, and I hate this question when I get it, so I'm going to give it to you. Trying to explain what vacuum distillation or multi-pressure distillation, I talk about ice cream and stuff now, and how there's all these different ice creams. Think of us as like the best ice cream. I've tried telling people about the different temperatures, that we're a low temperature. I've tried saying, oh, we can pick out. Do you know, the more I kind of learn about Garvin, I think the more confused sometimes I get each time I go. And it's a really weird thing, because I love it. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. This big, massive distillery, which is so far away from a single malt, essentially creating one of the best spirits out there. So I wonder if you've got a sort of like a 2-minute hit on what the patent still is, or if you've found something that makes it quite obvious for people that might not be as geeky as some of our listeners or whiskey people, or even to me, man. Like, I would say I'm a whiskey geek, and sometimes I'm like, right, so is it the rectifier? And then I don't know. Give it a go, Brian. Let's see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, in simple terms, the way I would think about the patent still, there's two aspects of it. Fundamentally, it's a very efficient way to produce whiskey in terms of energy. You know, and if you think obviously the way we all think today, that's a good thing. So you need less energy to create the whiskey. What that means in practical terms is you basically put in less heat. So when you take your beer and you're going to do the first distillation in the mash column, if you do it under vacuum, it means you apply less heat to the column, but you still get all the distillation you want. And the analogy I would use when I'm talking to folk and trying to explain it is exactly like, imagine a pot on the cooker. If you blast a pot with a lot of heat, a lot of gas, then you're going to create sort of burnt flavors. You're going to burn it. If you do it at a lower heat, you don't burn it. So when we put the beer into the still, it's still got all the solids in it, but you basically don't burn them, and therefore you create lovely, light, volatile, delicate whiskey. If you were to put the heat up, the chances are you degrade a little bit of the cereal that's in the beer, and you create sort of burnt cereal notes. And if you do get the chance to ever try grains from other distilleries, you quite often get a slightly cereal note on the grain, and that's typically where it's come from. It's because you've applied all that heat, degraded the cereal, and it comes through in the final spirit. The patent still, the beauty of it is that you don't do that.
I mean, that was pretty good. That was really concise.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So good. One of the things I like is the point about needing less energy to heat the still because the still is under vacuum. You don't hear, you see people talking about rotary evaporators and, vacuum stills and all that sort of stuff.